start looking at, I mean, he works with the sellers, you're kind of working with the buyers. And so when you start looking at, all the things he's talking about and what the sellers are going through, you must think about it in a whole different way.
Well, some of it overlaps. I mean, the buyers are having some of the same issues. They're, having to deal with 10 different people making an offer on a house and how to be a strong offer and what's, they're trying to look at what the seller wants when they put together their offer. So, yeah, there's some differences, but there's some things that overlap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would imagine that having somebody on your team that is really good and understands exactly what sellers are going through, and then knowing what your buyers are going through, it creates kind of a good mix in the middle to understand how to get deals done. Is that a fair comment?
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's a fair comment. So I'm going to, let the listing agent know things like, my buyers aren't going to get buyer's remorse, because that's something that we're seeing. So if you've got 10 offers, people get caught up in the hype of, go higher, and just do an escalation clause. And
they just want to win.
Right. They win, and then they have an inspection, and they freak out, and they think, uh-oh, I paid too much for this house. It was listed for $280, and I just bid $330, and maybe I just got ahead of myself.
It's kind of like after you go to like a charity auction and you get all excited and you're bidding and bidding and bidding and you win. And next thing you know, you've overpaid for a trip that would have cost you $500, but you've paid $3,000 because you're in the heat of the moment.
Exactly. It's hard to justify that.
What is it like out there? I mean, when you're with buyers, what are they going through?
Well, it's tough. It's really hard for them because, like I said, they see a list price and it may be $280 and they think, great, I can afford that. I've been qualified for $300. And then they get there and, $280 is not really where it's going to sell. So they have to know that not to get emotionally attached. And that's hard.
I mean, because there must be huge emotional swings up and down. We found the house online. Let's go see it. We love it. It's sold.
Yep. Absolutely. We were just getting ready to show a house yesterday. It's pending, and at 2 o'clock we confirmed the appointment. Listing agent wouldn't return our calls, and at 2:30 it was pending in the computer. So guess what? We didn't go.
So you don't even end up going?
No.
Save the gas.
Right. And sometimes you do, because some of the offers are falling through.
Right.
So it just kind of depends.
Where do buyers tend to have most of their, I guess, where's the biggest pain point that you end up dealing with?
Trying to find what they really want and what they're going to get, kind of expectations.
Bridging that gap in some ways?
Yeah. I mean, if they need, a certain school district, obviously that's, an important factor, but they may not get that open kitchen, or they may not get something that's completely move-in ready. So they have to look at that.
So really kind of defining what the most important things are, right, and then being able to whittle away at the man cave and the two-car garage or whatever else that maybe you don't get by being in that perfect area.
Exactly. I've got a first-time buyer and they want a yard for their kids. Well, we can't find them a yard, unfortunately, and that sounds crazy, but we cannot find a house that has a yard. So we find a house or a neighborhood that has a park, and it's kind of a compromise.
It's a good compromise, though.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go buy all the stuff that goes in the backyard, right?
You don't have to mow.
Right. That sounds like a deal to me. I'm in. Is it harder than for first-time home buyers? Because it's, they go in with the hopes and dreams than maybe a seasoned buyer?
No, absolutely. Because as a first-time buyer, most of them don't have a lot of down payment money. They're still trying to buy cheap. They're still trying to have, anywhere from 0 to 3.5% down. And now what we're finding is they're having to pay their own closing costs, where before we could ask for the seller to pay the closing costs, and that's really kind of going away. And that's hard.
So sometimes it's almost like the financial side, too. It's not just the emotional side of finding a house and not finding a house, but there's kind of when the rubber meets the road and the dollar's got to come out of the pocket.
Yep.
You end up putting yourself. So you must be hard. Do they tend to overextend? Do you see first-time home buyers kind of getting excited, overextending, and then having to pull back, kind of getting that buyer's remorse?
Actually, not so much on the first-time buyers. What I think we've seen actually is more buyers saying, okay, I'm approved at $350 or $300, and I want to stay at $250 or $275. And, at least they have that room. They can kind of push up if they need to push up a little bit. But in the past, everybody, if they were approved at $300, they wanted to buy at $320. It was always, just a little more. And now people are not doing that anymore. At least that's what I'm seeing.
That's good, though. Probably because they can't, sometimes they can't get any more.
Well, Yeah, and they've also, I think, looking at the last, 3 to 5 years and how many people got in trouble with their mortgages, I think people are being a little bit more realistic and saying, I don't need that 3,000 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can really live in a 2,000 square foot house and, I don't have to heat it. And
that brings up an interesting point. Last week we were discussing how a lot of first-time home buyers, all, if they're out of college, been out of college for, say, 5 years or whatnot, all they've ever seen is a down market. So
Right.
probably in their minds, it's hard for them to look further back in the same way nobody looks back at interest rates and remembers, when they were 13 to 15%. There's a lot of first-time home buyers who probably can't imagine real estate going up. And it must be kind of hard for them to shift their mind to realize that, hey, this could actually be a good investment as well as a place to live.
Right. I mean, interest rates are ridiculously low. My first mortgage was 9%, and that was a VA loan. That was, a great interest rate. And now they're, 3.5%, 4%. It's like, I just want to shake them sometimes and say that's so low. And, and it affects your buying power too. So,
yeah. Is there any tips you have for home buyers that help them maybe be the most successful?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something that we've just started to see up in Snohomish County, and I don't know if you've probably seen it more in King County, but we're starting to see pre-inspections where, a house comes on the market on Monday and the agent says, okay, I'm going to review all the offers on Friday. That gives you 5 days. It gives you time to get in the house, get an inspector in the house, make sure that you're not going to get that buyer's remorse and back out based on an inspection item. And so I think that's kind of important to do. If you can, get your mind around inspecting a house before you even have it. But it is.
But for first-time home buyers,
Right.
that must feel like more of a stretch. Like, wait a
It
minute,
is.
you want me to go spend $500?
Exactly.
I don't even know if I'm going to get this house. You want me to pay $500
I know.
just to go to the dance? I mean,
Right.
it's like a cover charge.
It's really hard on our end to say that. So
Yeah.
and there's different levels of inspection. So you can get an inspector to kind of do a walkthrough and say, okay, the roof's good, the foundation's good, the wiring's good. I'm not going to put it in paper, but I'm going to kind of give you a pre-inspect to say, nothing's going to cause you to back out of this house. It's not going to be just because you're not going to nitpick.
Right.
If you've got 10 offers, you're not going to do an inspection and then ask for $10,000 worth of repairs. The seller's not going to do that. They're just going to move right on to the next offer. So you have to know going in that you're okay with it.
It just must be, I mean, from your point of view, when you're
Right.
watching somebody, and we've seen it probably in King County, maybe more than Snohomish County, where people have put in, they've done 6 inspections or 8
Right.
inspections, and now they've spent $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 on inspections on homes,
Right.
and all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, what am I doing here? This is getting a little expensive.
Right. It seems crazy. And I would say that as a listing agent, sometimes it's good to go ahead and have the home inspected, especially if you know there are some items. I know that the paint is peeling on the outside of the house. So as a listing agent, I'm going to have an inspection. I'm going to upload it in the computer. All the buyers can see it and sign off on it before they get into contract. So I don't have a house that continually flips back and forth from active to pending.
Is that something buyers would trust?
Well, to an
It's kind of like
extent.
the used
Right.
car dealer going, no,
Right,
trust
right.
me, this is in great shape.
Right. To an extent.
Yeah,
Would I
show me
do
the
it on a house
Carfax.
that's in great condition? Probably not.
Right.
But would I do it on a house that is not in great condition? Possibly.
And so when you look at buyers and they're doing that, what else constitutes a strong offer? I mean, the inspection piece is certainly a big
Right.
part. Is there anything else that really constitutes a strong offer outside of just raising the price?
Oh, sure. You've got your lending, of course, which is very important to make sure that they're actually pre-approved. They're not just pre-qualified. They've, verified their income. They've actually talked to them, met them, things like that. So that's important. Down payment's important. A lot of first-time buyers don't have a strong down payment. So, you kind of have to be open to that and make the offer stronger in other ways. So if you can inspect quicker, that's great. Closing time, when does the seller want to close? Some sellers don't want to close in 20 days. They want to close in 3 months. They want to close when their kids are out of school in June. And, you have that flexibility of saying, okay, I'm willing to do that. Of course, there's the personal side to it. I wouldn't go into the house and say, oh my gosh, we're going to remove all that horrible wallpaper that you've got and we're going to remodel it and make it all awesome because, they're living there.
Would you write that in a contract? I think I really
do.
I like the bones.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, that bedroom paint that you guys chose is horrid.